Our special guest, the former Loose Women star, Carol McGiffin. Oh, but that's Daily Telegraph columnist Alison Pearson. We've also got Sean Bailey in the house, former Conservative London mayoral candidate, the author and broadcaster Amy McCallan. There is Carol. I just got too excited. But breaking tonight, Phillip Schofield has finally broken his silence on the sordid affair that saw his world collapse and engulf former employer ITV in the process. The Shame presenter has given an interview to the Sun newspaper and a sit-down with the BBC. This is a preview.
You met someone who was a child, you were in a position of power over them, you used your power eventually to give them something they craved, which was a shot at a job in the media, you nurtured a relationship and then that relationship became sexual. And they might ask, what's the difference between that and grooming?
Well, I would say that the initial list of things was not right anyway.
Tell me, why?
Because it was a totally innocent picture, a totally innocent Twitter follow, of which I follow 11,400 people, and then it was a completely innocent backwards and forwards over a period of time about a job, about careers. You know, I mean, you do that. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with talking to someone, no matter, you know, what age they are? Does that mean that if you're following anyone on Twitter that you absolutely don't talk to anybody else or you don't give advice? So I disagree with the summation that you just gave, because that does paint a very grave picture.
In which case, why do you say it was unwise? Because you're clearly sensitive to the power differential and you're clearly mindful of the dangers of abuse of power.
The brief communications backwards and forwards up to the point that he came to work on this morning, I think was just chat. What was unwise was the fact that it happened. And that was a very, very grave error. Now, it was consensual, but it was my fault.
Carol McGiffin, your reaction?
It looks very engineered to me, all of this, and I think it is to take the heat off the bosses. I know they've said they're going to do an inquiry, a barrister-led inquiry, but I just think that'll be another cover-up to cover up the cover-up. It's all kind of too. He seems to be too remorseful, if you know what I mean. And he doesn't look broken at all. He actually looks really well, and he doesn't look like he's not been eating. I just can't believe anything he says. But you know, it's working. Everybody's getting really angry and annoyed with Phillip, rather than the people who are responsible for covering this thing up. And
which is what this story is about.
Exactly.
It's about the cover-up. Alison Pearson, do you buy his argument?
I think really good question from Amal Raj, and how was that not grooming? And he didn't really have a convincing reply to that. I think Phillip Schofield perhaps heading for Best Actor, Best in a Soap in the 2024 awards, which he won't be presenting down.
Sean Bailey?
I'll go back to Carol's point. I think Phillip is providing cover for everybody else, and we're all getting angry at Phillip with good reason, but actually his bosses seem to have known an awful lot, and a certain version of events look like they happened to facilitate some of this. And it's very strange now. We're effectively relying on members of Parliament to get to the bottom of this. I actually don't think they should be involved, but the fact that they are, let's hope they do something good. Because an inquiry on ITV, led by ITV, I don't think will be convincing to anyone. So we need these parliamentarians to really push for some decent answers.
Amy McCallan, you worked in the showbiz industry for a long time. What's the strategy behind doing these interviews with The Sun and the BBC?
I think whoever has given him this strategy was potentially also the strategist for Prince Andrew. Because if that interview gave me anything, it gave me, I was in Pizza Express in Woking, I don't know anything about it, and I can't sweat.
This could backfire.
I think it has backfired, surely, already. That is so Newsnight, Prince Andrew vibes. Do you not agree? For once.
Obviously, I think I need to see the full thing in context, but what I definitely agree with Carol on is that this is all spin, that he's a broken man.
Spin.
You know, because
Terrible
if you're a broken
spin.
man, you can't dust yourself off a couple of days after this to go and sit down for 2 interviews. For me, Carol, this is about reviving his career. But Carol, look, you were very recently at ITV Daytime. You've only just left Loose Women in the past few weeks. What do you actually think has to happen at your former employer. Does there have to be a clear out in management now? Where does this story go?
I think that genuinely, I think this morning the show can't go on. I think it's way too tainted and
You think
damaged.
it has to be axed?
Well, not axed exactly, rested maybe, and revamped and come back with, because you can't just go along with everything. And the timing of Phil's interviews now is like Holly's supposed to be back next week. So it's like, oh, this is all just going to brush it all under the carpet. And then Carolyn McCall will talk to the MPs. Nothing will happen about that. And then the barrister-led thing. It's all kind of, it's tokenistic, all of it. And I really don't think that this morning should carry on. I don't think Holly should go back because she must have known. She must have known. Nobody knows whether she actually knew or not. But everybody's just saying, oh, Philip lied to me. Philip lied to me. Come on, you were so close. It's ridiculous. And I just think that this shows the arrogance of the bosses again, because they're so arrogant that they think the public are stupid. They really think the public are stupid. They don't know their audience. They don't know what they want. And, for years they've given Holly and Phil every single job going, and people, they're not that popular. And they're really not. And now to just carry on and think they can just carry on with This Morning. This Morning is an institution. It is a legendary programme. And I think its creator, Diane Nelm, said this the other day, that it needs to be rested. It's tired and it's kind of finished. They need to put something else on. And the whole of daytime needs a revamp, if you ask me. And the head of daytime needs to be looked at. And also Carolyn McCall, both of them need to be looked at very carefully indeed.
Absolutely agree. Carol McGiffin, Alison Pearson, Sean Bailey, Amy Nicole, thank you so much reacting to this breaking news of 2 bombshell interviews in one night